Hey everyone, it's DIY Alex back with another tutorial Tuesday. Sorry for that slight delay. My little overhead camera was being a little rebel, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we're gonna get that all fixed. Right now it's working, so hopefully it doesn't freeze up on us. But I'll give everyone a chance to come in. I saw that you guys have already been chatting, so I will catch up on your comments. Hey guys, I'm feeling okay today. Not the greatest. I had a few minutes ago, I had to take some nausea medicine. But, you know, we're going to hope for the best. For now, it's working. So thanks for asking. I'm excited to do a Mother's Day gift idea with you. It's going to be fun. Yeah, technical difficulties are never fun, but luckily I've had my fair share of them, I feel like, over the years. So I've gotten pretty good at handling them at this point, but sometimes you can help it and sometimes you can't, you know? So right now we've got both angles working. I think right now it's still looking good. So we're going to cross our fingers that it stays that way. Hi, Kristen. Hey, Lizzie. Oh, thanks. I'm trying to wear some of these clothes. I'll move this out of the way before they don't fit anymore. I really like this little maternity dress, but I don't think it's going to fit for much longer. So I was like, I better wear this while I can. Here, let me move some stuff around. I have to have my computer today because we're going to be drawing with Infusible Ink pens, and I'm going to be drawing live. So I need my computer so that I can use Design Space. Hello, hello. Oh, hi, Catherine. Oh, is it your birthday, Catherine? Happy birthday. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Yeah, I'm excited for this project. I think you guys are really going to like it. It's really cute. I'm excited on it. Yeah, Catherine, happy birthday. That's so fun. Hey, Ashley, welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. So I'm going to be teaching you about a Mother's Day gift idea that I came up with. We're only going to do one project with it, but I think you guys are going to be able to use it in a lot of different ways. That was my hope for you anyway, is that you would take this concept and you'd apply it to a bunch of different things, because there's so many different ways that you can, play with it and change it and make it your own. And I hope that if you do, you'll post it in our Facebook group so that everybody can see it, because I'd love to hear some inspiration, because that's super fun. Oh, I was reading your comments. Roseanne said, I've watched, but grandson was here and have taxes to work on. I know, that's so not fun. Oh, thank you guys. You're so sweet. Thanks, Trish. Fun. Yeah, I'm trying to wear my clothes while I can, because we are 18 weeks this week, which is so crazy. I cannot believe it. The last couple of weeks, my belly has gotten so much bigger. And honestly, guys, I'm a little scared that I'm going to have a 10-pound baby boy. It's quite possible. He is feeling huge. Maybe that's just what this stage is all about, but he is feeling huge. So we'll see. I go to the doctor tomorrow, and then I have my 20-week scan in a couple weeks here. So we'll see how he's measuring and how big he really is. But he feels pretty big to me. So we will see. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump in and get started, because you guys know the drill. I'm trying to go to Bible study tonight, fingers crossed. So I don't have a ton of time for our live, and this should be a pretty quick project. But actually, I'm going to set this off to the side because we don't have a lot of space. But I did pre-record a Design Space section for you, because like I said, what we're going to be working with, these were upside down, because that's how it's best to store them, but now they've fallen everywhere. Anyway, we are going to be working with Infusible Ink pens today. They look like this. And I know that we don't talk about these a whole lot, so that's why I wanted to record something in Design Space for you to show you how I set up the project. However, I did move pretty quickly through the Design Space section. So if you need to know more about Infusible Ink pens, if that's all brand new to you, if you've never written with your Cricut before or anything like that, I did link a video down in the description below where I have a much more in-depth, like pre-recorded tutorial that talks all about pens, drawing with pens, and all that stuff. So if you need more than what I'm about to show you, feel free to reference that, because it has a lot more information in it. But yeah, that's a little tip for you. So I have all of the infusible ink pens that I'm going to be using in a mug upside down. Because ideally, before you use them, about 20 minutes beforehand, it's best to have them upside down so that all the ink can run into the tip. Because if you store them with the cap side up, then chances are you might not get as good of a, the pen might skip while it's drawing. So there's a little tip for you, even though sometimes it makes you spill your pens. That's okay. Alana said, I had 2 of my boys that were 10 pounds and over. Ugh, I don't know. That seems scary to me, but I guess as long as he's healthy, oh well. Kristen said, do you prefer the pens over the markers? And Kristen, I do. I like the markers. I think that they can make really pretty designs, but they're just really thick. So if you guys are familiar with the Cricut pens are 0.4, I think it's millimeters. Is that it? Yeah, 0.4 millimeters, which is a fairly thin tip, versus the markers that are like 1.0. So the markers are much thicker than the pens, but they do work the same way. So it kind of depends on what you're doing as to which one you want to use. I do have both, and I may grab some while you guys are watching this design space section. But I typically will draw with my pens and then color with markers if you want to color anything. So before I get into that, that's what I do too, Rosie. And I store all of my pens like this in a clear holder. So that's why I had them upside down. But before I jump into the design space section, I guess I should tell you guys what the whole idea is, huh? Okay, so I had this idea today because, as you guys know, with a baby on the way, I'm thinking more about kids' crafts. And my thought for this Mother's Day project was you can do this in a lot of different ways. We are going to be drawing using the Cricut Explore Air 2, which as long as you have a Cricut, you can use these markers. Keep in mind, if you have the Cricut Joy, you do need the smaller size of pens, but you can put pens and markers in any Cricut machine, and you can draw designs that are from Design Space. You can create your own designs, upload them, and draw them, and do things a lot of different ways. Or you have another option where if you have kiddos or grandkids that you want to make a gift for mom or grandma, you could also just have your kids color on a piece of laser copy paper and then use that as the design. So if they just wanted to, draw a family picture or do something like that, then you could just take it and apply it to any kind of sublimation blank. So that's another key when working with infusible ink, pens, and markers, is you can't apply this to just anything. It has to be like sublimation compatible or infusible ink compatible, basically. It has to have a high polyester content in order for the markers and the pens to actually stick. So keep that in mind. So today I'm going to be using a sublimation journal. It's from Heat Transfer Warehouse. I linked it for you guys in the description below. So we would be making mom a journal in this case, but you can do this, with anything. You can do it with mugs, you could do it with coasters, keychains, tote bags, throw pillows, anything sublimation compatible, you could turn into a custom gift with infusible ink, pens, and markers. And not only that, you don't have to use infusible ink, pens, and markers. You could use any kind of sublimation marker. So whether that's the Artistry brand, the Caesar sublimation markers, anything like that is going to have this same effect. So we've already talked about drawing the whole design on the Cricut. You could also have any kiddos in your life draw this design just with pens and markers at their own leisure. Or you could do what I'm going to show you how to do today. I'm going to pick a design that you could potentially have a kiddo color. So you'll see what it looks like here in a couple minutes, but it says Momosaurus on it. And then at the top, there's this little section of dinosaurs. So you could kind of involve your Cricut if you wanted it to be a little on the neater side, but then you could give it to one of your kiddos and say, hey, color this in for mom or color this in for grandma. And then you can still use it as a custom gift. The one thing you'll want to keep in mind whenever it comes to infusible ink, pens, and markers, though, is that everything does have to be mirrored. So anytime there's text, it does have to be mirrored. Just like with sublimation, we're going to draw on the front of the paper, but we have to put the paper ink side down onto the blank. So if your kiddo is drawing and they write anything, it is going to be backwards. So that part can be a little tricky, which is why I like using the Cricut and letting your kiddos color in the images you find. That way all the text is already taken care of and you don't get confused with having to try to write backwards, you know what I mean? Anything like that. So that's my idea for you. I hope you guys like it. I think it's going to turn out really, really cute. Let me check up on my comments here. Oh, good. Ashley said she just bought some Cricut Infusible pens yesterday, and she didn't know they should be stored upside down. So there you go. Hey, Regina, welcome. Hey, Michelle. Thanks, Dee, for that reminder. Kristen said the Dollar Tree pen brush holders are amazing to hold the pens. I have 3 of them, and that isn't even all my pens. That's a great idea, Kristen. I love that. Oh, cute. And Catherine said she's done this with her nieces, drew a picture, and did it on my Cricut. Cool. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and switch over to the design space section of our live. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, and you guys will just hear the pre-recorded section here for just a moment. But remember that you can still talk to me through the comments. So if you have anything technical or any technical issues or questions, you can let me know in the comments because I can still see you. This is a super short clip, so it won't take long at all. Hang on just a second. So to get started with your project, the first thing you're going to need to do is to choose an image. So I'm going to go to the images library here on the left-hand side. And you can already see that I searched for mama. So I'm going to look through all of these images and find one that I like. But another thing I did to make sure that the images are all drawing compatible is under the filters here on the left-hand side, under operation, I chose draw only so that all of the images that would come up are compatible with pens. And I really like this Mamasaurus one because it can be colored here at the top, which I think would be really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add to Canvas. Then once it's on our canvas, next we need to size it for our project. So I went ahead and measured my journal, and I know that I want my image to be a maximum of 4.5 inches wide, which makes it a little over 5 inches tall, which is perfect. And it should already be all attached, so in that regard, we are all good to go. So then we'll continue with the project by choosing Make It. Then I'm going to choose On a Mat and then Continue. So as you can see, the only thing that's a little funky about this image is I thought this mama was going to be a different color, but it actually turns out that the operation has it listed as black, which is fine with me, but if you want to change the color, you may want to go back to the canvas and change that in the top toolbar. Now, because we are going to be drawing with Infusible Ink pens, we do also want to check the mirror button because we're going to draw this with the face side up and then we're going to press it with the ink side down. So similar to HTV, we need to make sure that we mirror anytime that we work with Infusible Ink pens or markers. Then once that's finished, we can go ahead and click the Continue button. Then once my Explorer Air 2 connects, next I'm going to choose a cut setting, and I do have my dial marked or turned to the custom setting so that I can choose here from my computer. And it's best practice to use laser copy paper because it's a little bit brighter than your average regular copy paper. So to find the laser copy paper setting, I'm going to choose the Browse All Materials link, and then I'm going to type in laser here in the search bar. And you'll see that laser copy paper comes up right here, which is perfect for me. So then I'll choose Done. And now I can load my pen into clamp A and begin begin writing. So now let's hop back over to my Explorer Air 2 and I'll show you what this looks like. All right, y'all, so I hope that was helpful in understanding at least the basics of working with pens and markers. But like I said, if you are brand new to this whole thing and you're like, Alex, what in the world is all this? I did link the full, much longer tutorial in the description below if you want to go check that out. Feel free to do that because I go much, much slower through that whole process in that video. I break the whole thing down and all the things. Now, granted, in that video, I was making a mug, but technically it doesn't really matter because the process is the same either way. So in order to draw with our pens and markers, first we're going to go ahead and set up our mat. So I'm going to be using a light blue light grit mat, which mine is barely even sticky. It definitely needs to be cleaned, but that's okay. And we'll just go ahead and put a piece of paper here in the upper left-hand corner. Now this is a little bit of a risk because I couldn't find my actual laser copy paper, but this paper said that it was super bright, regular multi-purpose paper. That's what I found in my computer drawer. So we're gonna see how bright this ends up looking. Hopefully it'll still look okay. Then in clamp A, which I can scoot my Explorer Air 2, whoops, down a little so you guys can see. And clamp A is where we're going to load our pen. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just use the black pen. Again, I'm going to be using a 0.4 black pen for my outline and my words. And then I did bring out my markers and I can color the design a little bit to give it a little bit of, fun before we apply it. So I'm just going to open up my clamp A, and this little pen holder is made for Cricut pens. I'm going to hold it so that the triangle goes in the front of my pen, and I guess facing me in the pen holder. I like to support it from the bottom so that when I push it down, I don't draw on the bottom of my Cricut with my pen. Then I'll close clamp A and we are all ready to go. So I'll go ahead and load my mat in. And then we will get drawing. So we'll press go. And if you guys have never seen the Cricut draw before, hold on. My pen is skipping really bad. So we're gonna pause it and unload it. It's not drawing very well. So, let's see if we can get the pen going. Oh no. Well, I do have another pack of pens that I may have to open up. This one may have dried out. I've had these pens forever. Okay. Well, it's not looking very good, and I want to make sure that nothing is skipping. So I am going to go ahead and grab a new pen. So hang on just a second while I do that. I actually have a ton of pens, and I really don't use them all that often. So it's definitely makes sense that some of them are a little too dry. Let's try this one. Oh no. This one's dried out too. Well, I guess good thing we're going through all these, huh? Oh, goodness. I just assumed that if I stored them upside down, they would be fine. But I guess after a while, they do dry out. Well, you guys, I have another pack of these we can try. But I also did think about doing the outline in green. I thought that could end up being cute. Ooh, that one looks a lot better. Okay. That one looks good. I think that's going to draw a lot better. And we're only going to be putting the design in this upper corner. So, but actually, since I started drawing, I am going to go ahead and get a new piece of paper. We'll just scrap this one and use it again if we need it. So that was this pen right here, right? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to try that again. Reload my pen into clamp A. And put a new piece of paper onto our mat. All right. Let's try this again. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to cancel what I had and then go back in just to make sure that I don't pause and restart. I want it to start from the very beginning so it draws the whole image. All right, let me find my paper setting. All right. So now we really are ready to go. And we'll try again. Okay. There, it's looking much better now. I can see that it's starting to draw already, and it's looking good. Apparently they do dry out, Ashley. I don't think that I've experienced that until now, but I guess it makes sense. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up on your questions. Ashley said, is laser copy paper a special kind of paper, or is it just the normal copy paper? So Ashley, actually, that is something that I learned when I was filming the video for this, that laser copy paper is different than regular copy paper. And the difference is how bright the white is. Laser copy paper is actually a little bit brighter, so it helps the color show up better when you transfer it on infusible ink. Now, I think copy paper would probably work fine, but the laser copy paper is what's recommended, and I have seen better results with less blurry lines with laser copy paper rather than regular copy paper. But, and I know it sounds kind of strange, but I just got my laser copy paper at Target. So it's not like it's this fancy paper. Most like office supply places are going to carry it. So it shouldn't be too hard to find. Trish said sometimes heating the end of the pen helps. That's a good idea. Kristen said, when not cutting, does the paper setting matter? So, Kristen, the only thing that's going to affect is how much pressure the pen actually puts on the paper. So you do want to get close just so that the Cricut knows how hard to press the pen. But like in this case, instead of laser paper, I chose copy paper. It's pretty easy to interchange them, but you do want to get close. You're welcome, Dee. You guys can see that I don't always use all my supplies either, but now it's looking much better. So it says Mamasaurus there on the bottom, and then if you wanted to, you could have a kiddo color in towards the top. But I'll go ahead and take out this black pen and put it back in my mug. And then I might color on it a little bit and give it a little bit of color before we apply it. But I won't spend too much time on it. Whoops. Woo. Didn't mean to curl it like that, but that's okay. It'll work fine. All right. And in the meantime, I'm going to also get my Easy Press started heating so that it's all ready to go for us when we are ready. Give me just a second, folks. Let me move my stuff out of the way here. I got a crowded table today. All right. So here's that. Here are my pens. Oh, and I did get this from the Heat Transfer Warehouse website. If you use the same journal as I have, the recommended settings are 400 degrees for 90 seconds with medium to firm pressure. So that's what I'm gonna set my Easy Press to so that we get a really nice transfer. And then I'll need some butcher paper here. I'm gonna move some of my stuff around just because the Easy Press gets kind of hot, and when it's heated up, I don't like to move it as far. All right. I know my little face is in the way there, but I'm just gonna set it to 400. Here, I'll move it so you can see it. Press the plus button until we get to 400. And then 90 seconds. It usually heats up pretty fast. Whoops. Oh my gosh, I always do that. I always turn it off instead of pressing the Cricut button. But I think we'll have to redo the time. Yeah. Oh goodness, y'all. I swear, ever since I found out about this baby, I cannot think straight. It is the funniest thing. Okay. The 400 degrees stayed, but it's 400 degrees for 90 seconds for our journal. So we'll let that begin heating. And we'll add a little bit of color with these markers. So, and I can show you on the piece of paper the difference between what they look like the thickness of the lines, because I think it does make a big difference. So we'll just kind of sketch it out, just kind of play with it a little bit. Won't worry about coloring in the lines too much, especially if this is supposed to be made by a kiddo. Because that's kind of that's why it's so cute, right? Because they're all over the place with their coloring. I have some birthday cards that my niece and nephew made for me when I turned 30 this past year, and they're some of my favorite cards ever because they're so funny. Okay, so that's what that looks like. We can color in maybe some dark green grass. Well, that says deep teal, but that's okay. Maybe we'll do that anyway. Just to add a little bit of color and variety here. And then we'll have to pick a color for our pterodactyl. Maybe we'll make him orange. Yep, that's what they say. And I not that I didn't believe people when they talked about pregnancy brain before, because I definitely believed them, but I think just until I could relate, I didn't really understand. What I've been telling people is it feels a lot like right after I got COVID and I couldn't think straight. That's kind of how it feels. But it's all the time, which is definitely not as fun. I definitely like walk into rooms and do the whole like, why did I come in here again? Kind of thing a lot more than I used to. There. Okay. So that's as much coloring as I'm going to do, but let me show you on the bottom of this page. Here's a line from the pen, and then here's a line from the marker. My marker's not in the greatest shape either, but that's okay. So there's what the difference in the thickness looks like. So remember the, oh, my easy press is already done. So the pen is 0.4 millimeters and the marker is 1.0. So the only difference between the infusible ink pens and markers is that thickness. There's no actual difference otherwise. Because that was something else that really confused me when I first started looking at all this stuff, is I was like, well, what's the difference between the pens and markers? And it's really just the thickness in the lines. So now I've got this all cut out, and I'm going to go ahead and set all of that aside because we're essentially just going to sublimate on our journal. So I'm going to make sure that this is the front cover, that it opens to the left. And I'm going to go ahead and lint roll the front surface of my journal to make sure that there's nothing on it. Then, just like any other sublimation or infusible ink project, I'm going to take my Momosaurus and I'm going to flip it over. You can kind of see through the light, sort of. You guys can't see it very well on camera, but I can see that it reads correctly when I look, through the paper. It reads correctly. Then I'm going to place it on my journal and try to center it the best that I can. And then I'll use heat tape to secure it in place. Might put a little bit more, at least on the corners, just because there's not a lot of room down the sides. Especially where I curled that paper a little bit. I don't want that to be an issue. I usually try not to put the tape directly over where I can see that there's ink. I don't know that it makes a big difference, but I try to avoid that if I can. Okay. And now that we have this ready to go, I did cut some butcher paper for sublimating on this, just because this is such a thin piece of paper. I didn't want anything to transfer onto my Easy Press. So I have a really big roll of butcher paper, so I just cut a small piece, and I'm probably going to fold it in half because that's still gonna more than cover my whole journal. But this will take place of like my Teflon sheet like I normally use or anything like that. I'm just going to use the piece of butcher paper. Okay. And I'll double check and make sure you guys don't have any other questions. Sister Care said, what kind of pens are those? So these are infusible ink pens and markers. The pens are the ones with the thinner lines, and then the markers are the ones with the thicker lines, but they do the exact same thing, and they are sized to go in your Cricut machine. However, any kind of sublimation pen is going to do the exact same thing. So you can also use like the artist free markers, you can use the Caesar sublimation markers. All of that stuff does the exact same thing. These just happen to fit in your Cricut perfectly. Cool, okay. So now I am gonna go ahead and press on this. When I press, it did also say medium to firm pressure. So I am gonna try and put a little bit of pressure on top of my Easy Press just to make sure that it gets plenty of contact and pressure. But I'm gonna have to kind of guess where my where my journal is under there. Make sure I put it in the right spot. Okay, so I'll go ahead and whoops, set this on top. Press the C button to count down. And because I'm short, I have to get on my tippy toes to push down. But you also want to keep in mind when using an Easy Press that the weight of the Easy Press does have some pressure to it. So when you add, it's about 10 pounds or so, maybe something like that. So it adds a little bit of pressure by default by just placing the Easy Press on top. But anytime that it says medium to firm pressure, I like to add additional pressure just to make sure that, that it's getting plenty. And I just realized I don't have my tweezers. I'll have to grab tweezers here in a second when we're done so that I can peel the paper quickly. Because I do typically like to do a hot peel. I know on the website this was listed as a hot peel also. So I want to make sure to try to follow those directions the best that I can. This definitely gets an arm workout in. Dee says, I never cover any of the image and I use a lot of tape. I know there's so many different ways that you can do this, and it's really, I think, more personal preference than anything. That's what's kind of funny about it is you'll hear two different people talk about it and they'll do it two totally different ways, and it still comes out fine either way. We're getting close. My arms are hurting. Okay. Oh, I can see some through the paper, so that's probably a good sign. Let me grab some tweezers, and we'll see how this turned out. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Okay, hold on. Let me get my heat gloves. I forgot those too. I'll pick it up and show you guys a little closer. This turned out so fun. And what I love about this is every single time you do this, it always looks like things are gonna be so dull and boring. And then the colors end up being so much prettier every single time. Take a look at that. And even my markers that like looked like they were a little dried out, honestly, they look really great. And I liked something, as far as the image that I chose, I liked something besides just like Happy Mother's Day. Not that Happy Mother's Day is bad, but I would think that as a mom, you would want something that you're gonna have all year long. So that's why I thought Mamasaurus would be cute. So that's how it turned out. I love this, honestly, guys, more than I thought I would. Now, there's not a ton of images within Cricut Design Space, I didn't think, but you could definitely try to find a single line image or come up with your own image that you've designed. Just make sure that you use like drawing fonts so that they're single line, and images that are drawing images as well. So you can use the filters in Cricut Design Space to find those, or, and that's usually going to be your best bet, but you can also look for things on the internet that are called single line images, or if they're just really thin images, that would work fine as well. And actually, after looking at this image, it probably would have been fine to use a marker for this. Just because the lines are so thin, a marker probably would have done just as well as the pens did, honestly. But hey, you never know, you know? So I'm really obsessed with how this turned out. Let me lay this down and I'll zoom in a little bit. But see, I'm glad that I covered it with 2 layers of paper, because when you look at it, this was the side that was down, and you can see that I had quite a bit of ink blowout all the way through my pages. So, and this was the very top piece when I pulled it off. So it did have quite a bit of bleed. I can also check the bottom of my Easy Press and make sure, hopefully I didn't know. So nothing transferred onto the bottom of the Easy Press, which is good, but I do like to cover mine just to make sure I don't get any extra ink blowout. So I know this was a super short live, or at least it's felt short to me. Yeah, 35 minutes is pretty quick for us. But my hope, even though I said this at the beginning, I'll say it again. My hope is that you'll take this idea and run with it in a lot of different ways. Because again, when you're talking about different ways that you can use infusible ink pens, the way that I see it, you have 3 different options. Number 1, you could have kiddos just straight up color on a piece of paper, piece of laser copy paper using infusible ink markers, and apply that directly to your blank. Or you can do what we did here, and you can pick an image out of Cricut Design Space, draw it on your Cricut, and then have your kiddo color it so that you have, you know, partially hand-drawn, partially a little bit more clean looking. Or you could completely skip the self-portrait altogether, and you could just pick a phrase or an image from Cricut Design Space and you could draw the whole thing. Because if you search really hard in Design Space, depending on what you're looking for, there are some really intricate designs like mandalas and things like that that you could probably cover the entire cover of this journal with. So there's 3 different options when it comes to using pens in those different ways. And then as far as what you can apply them to, you can apply infusible ink markers and pens to anything that is sublimation compatible. Anything that's sublimation compatible. So that could be your, you could do coasters, you could do, what else did I have over there? I was gonna do a whole pile of things, but then I realized that since the concept was the same all the way through, I decided not to do quite as many projects, but you could do a set of coasters, you could do a set of, you could just do tote bags, you could do magnets, keychains, anything that would be special to your mom or to your, grandma or whoever you're making this for. You could literally use anything you wanted. I always like to try and get these back in order and they never want to go. Every time I'm like, what the heck? Here we go. We'll just stick these down in here. And again, we already talked about this, but don't forget, you could, ideally, you can store these upside down because they're going to last a little longer that way. And if you don't store them upside down before you use them, they should be upside down for a few minutes before you actually apply them. So I usually like to put them in like a cup or a mug, and I stick them upside down for a few minutes just right before I'm about to use them. I don't think that's right at all with where these go, but that's okay. So yeah, I've been trying to think a little bit more out of the box with the different things that I do with my Cricut. Like for example, I hardly ever do writing projects with my Cricut. So I'm trying to stretch my creativity a little bit and do some different things that I normally wouldn't, just because there's so many possibilities, and we all kind of get stuck in doing the same things that we always do. But I like to try and get creative with it and use our machines really to the fullest extent. Sister Care said, I'm going to have to invest in some of those pens. I didn't know how they worked. And you know what? Honestly, you guys, when I made, so I talked about this earlier, but I have a full-length tutorial on infusible ink pens and markers that I linked for you in the description of this video. And when I made that video was the first time that I really dug in and tried to understand the pens and markers, because they honestly confused me before. I knew that they were similar to infusible ink, but I didn't really understand what was the difference and what kind of paper did I need to use and how do they work and how do you apply them? And I found it pretty confusing as well. So hopefully this was helpful. Michelle said, is that listed as fabric notebook on the website? Yes, Michelle. I also have it linked for you in the description if you want to go straight to it. But I think it's called Sublimation Fabric Notebook or something like that. But down in the description, I also linked a leather planner because as I searched sublimation notebook on the Heat Transfer Warehouse website, a leather planner came up and I thought that would be super cool. I've never seen the inside of it because I've never ordered one of those before, but after seeing it, I was like, I really want one of those because I think that'd be such a cool gift. I agree, Kristen. The pens are definitely fun. And like I said, I just don't feel like I give them enough credit, you know? Thanks, I'm glad you guys like it. Oh, that's a good idea, Kristen. That must be what you were saying before. So Kristen is suggesting that you draw a design using the regular Cricut pens and markers, the ones that are not infusible ink. And then if you color in the lines using infusible ink markers, then your original outline won't transfer. So that's a cool idea too. There's so many different ways that you could do it. Yeah, there's just literally tons and tons of options. Hey Candace, welcome. Well, I know that it's really early, but we're pretty much done with today's project. So I'll give you guys another couple of minutes to ask any questions that you have or anything else that you want to ask me in general. And then we will be done for this week. I don't want to promise for sure, but I think I actually may be back next week with a premiere of a video. Of the DTF video that was supposed to be last week. I think, but I'm not positive, so I don't want to make any promises, but we may be back for 2 weeks in a row. Thanks, Ashley. I'm glad you like it. Oh, cool. Michelle said, I saw the planner. There's a picture on the inside. You can fill in your own dates at the top and has lines like a notebook. Cool. Let's see. The inside of this one, I think the pages are just plain. Yeah. So I have another one of these, but it's been a while since I looked at it. Oh, you guys don't have the overhead anymore. So in the sublimation fabric notebook, it's just a bunch of plain paper. There's no lines, no grids, nothing like that. So keep that in mind if you decide to do that. And also the spine is black. So you can sublimate on both the front and back cover. I have another video on how to sublimate this just with regular sublimation if you want to see that, but the spine is plain black. So tons of cool blanks and tons of different options with the different ways that you can do this project. And I hope that you guys will take it. And there's plenty of time before Mother's Day. So I hope that you will take it and make something cool. And if you do, please post it in the Facebook group because I would really love to see what you guys are making with it. You're welcome, Lizzie. Thanks, Dee. I'm glad I got to see you guys too. I feel like it's been a couple weeks. It's been, honestly, guys, this whole journey ever since I found out that I was pregnant has been quite the ride. From minute to minute, I just don't know how I'm gonna feel. And I had some unexpected delays with our video last week. So that was one reason why I didn't end up doing anything, but I also was not feeling that great. So it just ended up being an off week, but I'm hopeful that we're past a lot of that by now. Man, because after I got over some of the morning sickness and kind of got past all of that, then I got this really, really awful cold that if you follow my stories and stuff, you might have already seen. I had this really awful cold and we're going on 3 weeks of that. So I'm still taking some cold medicine, but hopefully we are past a lot of that so that I can get back to just feeling normal because that would be great. I miss feeling normal and doing my normal stuff and having my normal energy. So yeah, but anyway, yeah. Okay, well, it doesn't look like you guys have any more questions. I feel like I'm missing something because it's so early, but we really are done. Thanks, Lizzie. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, and let me know if you have any other requests. I know Kristen requested that we continue with the Cricut Maker series. So I'm definitely going to be doing that. The reason I didn't do that today is because the Cricut Maker series and all of the tools that I have left to cover are much lengthier videos. So I want to do those in a pre-recorded way just because it's really repetitive. Like for example, when you work with like the knife blade, you're looking at like 20 to 30 passes a lot of times. And so it takes like an hour and a half to cut, depending on how intricate your design is. And I just think that would make for a really, really long live. So I'm going to try to get some more of those episodes in, but they'll be pre-recorded. So we'll do those as a premiere. And then we'll, you know, put in some lives here and there and everything. Yeah, Candace, sick and pregnant are never fun. And like, because you're so limited in the medicine that you can take, I wasn't able to take any of the normal cold medicine that I like to take while I'm not feeling good. So I just feel like it made it drag out forever. And so, yeah, I've been calling my doctor's office a lot. It's been like a whole thing, but I really do think we are past it now. I'm back to sleeping in my bed. For a while, I couldn't even sleep laying down horizontal because like I was so congested. I had to sleep on the couch and I wasn't getting any sleep. And so it was a whole thing, but we're much better now. And I know you guys are looking forward to the maker tutorials because the engraving video that we did maybe a month or 6 weeks ago is doing really, really well. So I promise I haven't forgotten about it. It's just been on pause while I've been doing lots of lives, but we're still here, still doing that. I'm still working on Secret Project, which should be coming to you in May or June. So I can tell you what I've been working on here in the next couple of months. And yeah, so it's still busy around the scenes at DIY Alex. It's just a little still in the secret stage. Oh, I know, Candace, that was a big wake up call for me. I haven't been super limited up until this point with what I could take, but it was until I realized that I couldn't take my favorite cold medicine that I was like, man, this really stinks. But that's okay because baby boy's still doing good, and that's the most important thing. I'll get to see him tomorrow in our checkup, and I always love, I don't love going to the doctor because it's pretty boring, but I love being able to see him, so I'm excited for that. Oh, there you go, Kristen. She said it gave her a chance to get your maker. That's true. That's true. Well, I'm excited to add some more to that series, and I'll definitely be thinking up some more stuff. I still owe you guys an engraving blog post that I promised to write a while ago, but life happens. So I'll get that to you here really, really soon. Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. It was super fun chatting with you guys today and catching up. Don't forget, if you haven't already, to subscribe to DIY Alex for more videos a lot like this one. And I'll see you guys hopefully really soon with our next video.